Now, the special ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting AMM has been postponed to Monday, December 22nd, at the request of Thailand and Cambodia following the ongoing conflict at their border. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim seconds this during an interview. And this postponement, he says, will allow both nations to be prepared and ensure all peace negotiations can progress smoothly and effectively.
Slight postponement of the Foreign Ministers meeting scheduled on Tuesday, so we're postponing to get everything in order. Really with that, stop the fighting. I'm in touch with them on a daily basis.
Datuk Seri, what's your comment about the blockade of Gulf of Thailand, Datuk Seri?
We're still negotiating to get things through.
Earlier, Anwar says negotiations are ongoing to de-escalate the situation between the two ASEAN member states. Malaysia had earlier called on both Thailand and Cambodia to cease all forms of hostilities and refrain from any further military action, including the deployment of armed troops to the front lines following renewed fighting in the border area. And Malaysia needs to modernize its power systems to build a low-carbon economy that is competitive, inclusive and resilient. Deputy Prime Minister Dato' Amar Fadilah Yusof, who is also the Minister of Energy Transition and Water Transformation, says digitalizing the economy with trustworthy AI and translating climate ambition into bankable and investable projects are also crucial steps that must be taken for Malaysia to achieve this goal.
If we are serious about building low-carbon economy that is competitive, inclusive and resilient, then we must do three things at the same time. Firstly, we must modernize our power systems. Secondly, digitalize our economies with trustworthy artificial intelligence. And thirdly, translate climate ambition into bankable, investable projects.
At the same time, he calls for utilities to bring forward projects that measurably reduce curtailment, accelerate connections, and harden systems against extreme weather. Hence, manufacturers and building owners alike are urged to deploy AI-enabled efficiency, demand response and storage solutions, and to share lessons learned so aggregated demand can become a reliable system resource. Fadilah adds that the government also expects data center and AI compute investors to design for efficiency and clean energy from day one, working closely with utilities to manage grid impacts responsibly. He noted that financiers are invited to properly price integrity, resilience, and speed to impact, and to strengthen partnerships among ASEAN countries to expand interconnectors and harmonize rules so clean power can flow where it is needed most. And in Kuching, Fadilah says the proposal to supply electricity from Sarawak to Peninsular Malaysia that will be managed by Tenaga Nasional Berhad TNB remains at the policy and technical stages, including the implementation of studies and surveys involving Indonesia. Although the proposal has received in-principle approval, its implementation still requires detailed technical studies before a feasibility study can be carried out.
Masih di peringkat dasar dah ada kelulusan, cuma peringkat teknikal sebab setidaknya perlu melaksanakan kajian terlebih dahulu, iaitu untuk membuat survey, dan survey yang melibatkan Indonesia untuk memaklumkan Indonesia. Bila survey dah finalize, barulah di orang madah kajian kebolehkelaksanaan boleh dilaksanakan.
The electricity supply project is expected to involve several key parties, including TNB, Petronas, and Sarawak Energy Berhad SEB. On tariff setting, Fadilah says the matter has yet to be determined, as it depends on the outcome of detailed studies to establish the overall project costs, as well as negotiations between TNB and SEB. Previous reports state that Sarawak had, in principle, agreed to supply 1,000 megawatts of green energy each to Singapore and Peninsular Malaysia, marking a new era of cross-border energy cooperation under projects within the ASEAN Power Grid Initiative. Now, the High Court was told today that the central issue in Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia's or Bersatu's judicial review application over the freezing and seizure of two of the party's bank accounts mirrors the issue in the criminal proceedings involving its president Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. Senior Federal Counsel SFC Nur Hafiza Azizan, appearing for the government and the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC, submitted in reply to Bersatu's arguments that the matter should therefore be determined by the criminal court. The charges against Muhyiddin, she says, were brought in his capacity as Bersatu president, indicating a clear connection between the two. The matter should be addressed in the criminal court rather than through judicial review proceedings. Earlier on, the party's counsel, Rosli Dahlan, submitted the party's two bank accounts, which were frozen and eventually seized in 2023, remain inaccessible to date. He says the freezing order was only effective for 3 months. However, Bersatu is still unable to access its CIMB and AmBank accounts. The hearing before Judge Dato' Aliza Sulaiman is set to continue on February 3rd next year. On October 30th, 2023, the High Court allowed Bersatu's application for leave to initiate a judicial review to challenge the MACC seizure of its two bank accounts. Captain Dato' Muhammad Suhaimi Yahya, as a public officer of Bersatu, filed the application on May 29, 2023. He named the then Attorney General Tan Sri Idrus Harun and MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki as the first and second respondents, respectively, and 20 other individuals as the third to the 22nd respondents. Bersatu claimed that on April 19, 2023, its CIMB and AmBank accounts were seized without any seizure order being served on the party under Section 50(1) of the Anti-Money Laundering and Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001. The party also claimed that MACC issued a statement on April 20th, 2023, stating that both accounts had been seized on April 11th, 2023, but that Bersatu was never informed of the seizure on that date. The Bondi Beach shooting in Sydney left 15 people dead, and it could have been more severe if one of the shooters was not disarmed by a good Samaritan, Ahmad Al-Ahmad, who is now dubbed as Sydney's hero. His preemptive attack was caught by a bystander where Ahmad was seen hiding behind parked cars before charging at the shooter from behind, seizing his rifle and knocking him to the ground. The 43-year-old fruit shop owner suffered bullet wounds during the struggle. Ahmad's cousin, only known as Mustafa, recounted his heroic acts and discloses that he has undergone an operation.
Because still inside and he do the operation, but we hope he will be fine. He's a hero, 100%. He's a hero because what we see on the social media, he's 100% hero. Yeah, he have two shots, one in his arm here and one in his hand.
Meanwhile, the Premier of Australia's New South Wales state, Chris Minns, pays Ahmed a visit at the hospital after his surgery and commended his selfless act. He shared a picture with Ahmed on his hospital bed with a caption hailing him as a real-life hero. Additionally, a GoFundMe campaign has been set up for Ahmed with just over $1 million raised in just a few hours. Billionaire hedge fund manager Bill Ackman was the largest donor, contributing $99,999 and sharing the fundraiser on his X account. The Bondi Beach duo shooters killed 15 people and injured 27 others. Australian media identified them as the father-son duo, 50-year-old Sajid Akram and his 24-year-old son Naveed Akram. The younger man was born in Australia while his father, who was killed at the scene, immigrated to the country in 1998. Now, in a rather strange development, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused Australia of gaslighting anti-Semitic sentiment and failed to take decisive action against anti-Semitism. In response, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says he sees no connection between the deadly attack at a Jewish festival in Sydney and his government's recognition of a Palestinian state. He states that the past 24 hours have been a traumatic experience for many and should not be politicized. Besides providing support for the Jewish community, Albanese remains steadfast on the world's stance that the two-state solution is the right way forward to resolve conflict in the Middle East. Australia formally recognized the state of Palestine in September in the wake of the Gaza war. Meanwhile, he also reveals that the younger gunman has previously been probed in 2019.
The son first came to attention in October 2019. He was examined on the basis of being associated with others, and the assessment was made that there was no indication of any ongoing threat or threat of him engaging in violence.
Do you believe that to be failing?
I've reported factually on what ASIO have found.
Police did not release the shooter's name, but said the father has held a firearms license since 2015 and had 6 registered weapons. One of the suspected attackers was known to authorities but had not been deemed an immediate threat. As Palestinians struggle to survive the winter season in unfathomable conditions with shortages of food, clean water and medicine, Israel continues its inhuman attacks, even with the so-called ceasefire in effect since October 2025. Reports by the Gaza Health Ministry and various news agencies that are not biased towards the Zionist regime states that 391 Palestinians have been killed, while 1,063 were wounded since the truce began. Attacks by Israel include sporadic airstrikes, shelling and gunfire across all Gaza governorates. Incidents included an elderly woman killed in an attack in northern Gaza and an 18-year-old killed by gunfire in Jabalia. Just recently, Hamas reveals that its senior commander, Raid Saad, was killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. The strike also killed 4 other civilians. From October 10th to December 12th, Israel has violated the ceasefire at least 738 times, an unprecedented number even when compared to previous world wars. Government media office in Gaza reports that Israel shot at civilians 205 times, raided residential areas beyond the Yellow Line 37 times, bombed and shelled Gaza 358 times, and demolished people's properties on 138 occasions. It added that Israel had also detained 43 Palestinians from Gaza over the past month. In total, Israel has killed more than 70,600 people, mostly women and children, and injured over 171,100 in attacks in Gaza since October 2023. Don't forget to witness all the action and greatness of the 33rd SEA Games in Thailand from December 9th to December 20th, live, exclusively on TVS 122, TVS Inspire, and our TVS SEA Games YouTube channel. We're all on your screen, anytime, anywhere. And those were the updates on TVS Nightline. I'm Yusuf Shukri. Thank you for watching, and Assalamu Alaikum.